Nigel,
Nice to meet you.
nice meeting you. Congratulations on the book.
Thank you very much.
How long did it take you to put the book together?
Well, it's an idea that I've been working on now for probably about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. But it was truly when my son, who's now 4.5, and he was about 2.5, he asked me a question about what I did for a living, and he knew that I was a photographer, but he wanted to know, what is it that I do? And I'm like, well, I try and take beautiful photographs. And he's like, well, what is beautiful? And so I decided to write down what I thought was beautiful and tell him what I thought was beautiful. And it started to come out. Spontaneity, confidence, humility, and charm and charisma. And I realized then that I really wasn't talking about anything skin deep. I was talking about the inner beauty attributes. So when I actually got the book deal, put pen to paper, bizarrely enough, it took me about 3 months. So it was a fun project, but once you write the book, it then takes another 9 months to get it out. So it's like having a baby.
Well, I love the message that it conveys, because Vervegirl Magazine is all about self-esteem and the upliftment of young women across Canada. And it actually comes on the heels of our self-esteem issue. I think your book was very well done.
Thank you.
And it will definitely open the eyes and minds of women globally. So
Thank you very
congratulations.
much. Had a lot of fun with it.
It's refreshing to see someone in the fashion industry as well to put something so substantial out that will benefit young women.
Thank you. Well, obviously, someone who's worked in the fashion business for the better part of 20 years, I've worked on obviously both sides of the camera as well. I started off as a model. I've been a photographer now for almost 15 years, and I've dealt with beauty. I've had the question of beauty asked of me from my fans, from people who want to be models, people who are feeling inadequate about who they are, and I get thousands of emails every year from people who say, "Hey, do I have what it takes? Can I be a model? Am I beautiful enough to be a model? Am I beautiful? Period." And they often get wrapped up with the idea that being beautiful is somehow being like a model, is somehow being, am I tall enough to be beautiful? Have I got good hair? Do I have great skin? And as a photographer, I've always tried to capture a beautiful picture, and it has nothing to do with those attributes. It has nothing to do with the skin deep. It has to do with who you are. And I'm like, listen, start with you, and the rest will follow. And the book is about inspiring people to be their best self, to be their most beautiful self from within, and that way the life, the spark, who they are, is something that I can capture. And on Top Model we talk about personality, we talk about smiling with your eyes, we talk about capturing that on film, and if we don't, you look like a deer in the headlights and all the rest of it, and the picture goes to waste. You can have a beautiful facade, you can have wonderful props, a great landscape, fantastic lighting, all the rest of it, but it means nothing if you aren't present. So the book's about inspiring us, not just in photographs, but in everyday life, to be as present as possible, to be as beautiful as we can be. And I believe that we all have that capacity.
We all have that capacity, I agree. What kind of advice would you give to a young girl then? Our readership is 13 to 24. So for the younger demo, for those girls who are trying to build that personality and build their compassion and build their self-esteem, what kind of advice can you give to them to help develop that? Because they haven't quite...
No, absolutely. Well, I mean, listen, in the fashion business, everyone is consumed with youth. So most models are, in fact, very young. And this is an issue for the older demographic, because they have to deal with that constantly being this young look forced on them. And I'm often there saying that actually I prefer to photograph a more sophisticated look, because there's more life, there's more history, there's more experience to capture. So what I say to the younger demographic is that, think about who you are, think about where you want to go, think about what you're doing with your life, and become proactive. Get involved with the community. Look for opportunities to grow your education, expand who you are as an individual. And there's so many things out there, so many causes, so many issues, and kids out there, young people out there, you have a very powerful demographic, and you've seen it with things like MTV's Rock the Vote, where kids have basically changed legislation. You can do it, we can do it. So change yourself, make yourself the best self you can possibly be. And for a young person, it's like, the world's your oyster. So allow yourself to blossom. Don't be held back because you don't fit into that clique. Don't, just because, you may not be the cool kid in class, or you're not a cheerleader, or you're not, an athlete. It doesn't mean you don't have an enormous amount to offer the world. In fact, you might have more. Sometimes it's the diamond in the rough that's really the most exciting thing out there. And I believe that diamond is in each one of us. And of course, on Top Model, we're all about that. We're all about, a makeover and spit and polish, and and revealing that beautiful person. And a makeover doesn't just have to be on the outside. You can make yourself over on the inside too.
Let's talk about compassion, because you talk a lot about compassion in the book. What is the most compassionate thing someone has done for you?
I mean, I've had many, many things, lucky opportunities, and people being very compassionate towards me in many different instances. And the chapter on compassion is very important. I call it Model Citizen. And the reason being is, it's one thing to talk about confidence. It's one thing to talk about humility and charisma. It's another thing to tell people how to get it. And truly, through my life, working with organizations like the Humane Society of the United States, like working with the Elizabeth Glaser Pediatrics AIDS Foundation, or the Adeo Foundation, which is a Haitian charity, I've met people who are going through very difficult things in their life. I also am a wish granter for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and you come across children with life-threatening illnesses who have experienced little but more in their life than pain and distress and bad news. And so to be able to give them an opportunity to have a wonderful day, or to be able to take a photograph that inspires people to do the right thing, or to become educated in a subject, I think that's a very powerful thing that I've been able to do. And in the book, obviously I can't ask everyone to be a photographer or a filmmaker, but we all have the power to grant a wish. We all have the ability to make someone's day feel better, opening the door for them, smiling at someone, being charming, actually listening, becoming educated in a subject. These are all very important things, and of course all help grow your beauty equation. And on a personal level, I've had people help me out in all walks of life, whether it be in Cité Soleil, Haiti, where I've gone into a house where a gentleman had met multiple gunshot wounds and had several children of his own, and he was helping to fend for a family of about 10 people by himself, single-handedly. Yet he was offering us his last bit of food so that we could have something to eat. And you see these signs of strength, and even in absolute adversity, where things are very difficult and tough, you see that sometimes people rise to the top, like cream rising in milk to the top. It's like there's the best of it, and I really believe in the human spirit, and I think that we have to concentrate on that first. It's that human spirit that we have, and as a photographer, if I can capture that human spirit on film, then I've got something special.
Speaking of something special, if we've got a lot of special girls who want to aspire to be a model, but not all of them can make it, as you know. What other possibilities, what other things career aspects can girls think of or pursue that's still within the modeling industry, the fashion industry, without being in front of the lens?
Well, I mean, the fashion industry as a whole is a huge industry. There's many different aspects to it. There's people who work in, merchandising. There's people who work in design. There's people who work as makeup artists, stylists, and obviously photography and journalism. And it's a huge industry. It's a massive industry. I mean, New York City, is illustrious as it is made of two things really: the fashion business and the finance business. So it's a big enough industry to almost partially support a city like New York City. So if you don't fit into modeling, it doesn't mean you won't fit into the business. You have to think about that. Fit into modeling. Modeling is an industry that was designed, by designers where they had to have someone of a certain size and shape to fit their one sample size they were making to put down a runway. Now, the advertising industry, which is something that's blossomed off modeling industry in the past 50 years, is different, and I believe that the advertising industry should show a wider demographic of people, because ultimately they are advertising to the public. Now, the fashion industry should also, it would be nice if they reflected, a greater demographic, but it's often expensive and difficult for designers to produce more than one prototype for a design, and they have to decide on what shape or size they're going to do that with. Now, you are seeing designers, and I think it's smart of them to create collections that fit a variety of women, because obviously the more people you dress, the more items you're going to sell. So I think it's, you know, it's common sense, and it will happen. And even in couture, I think designers need to think outside the box, because, you know, people who go to galas and who go to events and have their prom and have, you know, their wedding day and all these things come in every shape, size, color, and creed and religion. You know, so I think we need to, you know, use some common sense, both the designers and the public, when talking about body mass index and things like this.
Okay, very, very good. Because in our self-esteem issue, we talk about dressing for your size, and how important it is to accept the size that you are. If you wear something too small, you'll appear too big, and vice versa.
Absolutely.
What do you think then about the sizing charts in the industry as a whole? I mean, in retailers, people sizing up or sizing down to accommodate the masses.
Well, in the book, I mean, there's chapters on health, there's chapters on radiance, and I talk about makeup, I talk about hair, and I talk about clothing, styles, fashions, and really my message isn't that one thing's right or one thing's wrong. It's really about rocking whatever you've got, you know, and if you're a rocker, be a rocker. If you're a punk, be a punk. If you're a goth, be a goth. But if you're chasing a dream or some other aesthetic that isn't you, it's never really going to work. And, you know, I think that you've got to get over the idea of what size is. Are you comfortable? Are you fit? Are you healthy? Are you treating your body like a temple? Now, if you look after yourself, you exercise well, you eat good foods, you know, it's not going to mean that you're going to be a model skinny size. Everyone's metabolism is different. My wife's a size 0, she eats like a horse. You know, I, on the other hand, haven't taken off the pounds that I put on during the pregnancies that my wife went through. So, you know, it's just different for every one of us, you know, and you can't beat yourself up about it. And if you do, you will be consumed by it. And as a result, you're not letting yourself live your life to your fullest. Now listen, you only have one life. Make it the best one possible.
I think that's great advice. That's great advice. Just trying to think. You talk about perfect or quick challenges. I'd like to know who is your perfect 5 women, 5 men?
Who's my perfect? I'm not sure that I have a perfect 5 men and 5 women. I think I look for perfection and imperfection in every subject I have. And yeah, absolutely, the book, The Beauty Equation, one of the fun aspects of it is at the end of every chapter, I don't just waffle on and tell you this is what I think. I challenge the reader to actually embody the idea, embody the concept, and then through a series of photo challenges, video challenges, written challenges, actually look at themselves through phototherapy and see what they look like when they're embodying these ideas, these concepts. And some of them are little tricks that work for like 10 seconds, 20 seconds. Like I say, look, this is a great way to give yourself confidence right here, right now in this picture. And then there's the big picture of how do you gain confidence permanently over a lifetime. And I talk about that too, and I illustrate it with photographs of people who really embody these ideas, and you know, whether they be someone I've met in Cité Soleil, like I mentioned in Haiti, or whether they be international famous top models, or like Pat Cleveland, the first black woman on the cover of Vogue, or you know, athletes like Maria Sharapova, you know. And there are tips from experts in the book too. It's not just me. There are many tips and quotes from illustrious people from various sides of the beauty and fashion business, and you know, and also from exercise, and you know, there's yoga experts and masseuses and all kinds of people chiming in and giving, you know, their opinion on how to do it. And we created a website called beautyequation.com, which is a very important part of the book, because you know, books are great, but once you've written them, that's it. You can't go in and change it.
There's an interactive aspect.
And so we created the website because this story isn't just what I've written. It's an ongoing story. It's an ongoing idea. The concept, the evolution, the things we're learning about beauty. So we created the website, 1, so that you could display your portfolio of pictures from the book, but 2, and more importantly, to continue the story, to continue the dialogue, to get the conversation started, so that we as a global community can start talking about beauty from within first of all, and then discussing all the rest of it and how the rest follows.
I think that pretty much summed everything up. Check out Nigel Barker, beautyequation.com.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nigel. It was an absolute pleasure to meet with you.
Thank you. Nice meeting you too.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.